So, big shit this month, mate.
Big shit this month, man. Big shit.
Big
This
shit.
is a big update. This
I'm
is
looking
this
forward to
is
this.
one of the biggest updates in terms of change to the game that we have done for a long time. The
Yeah.
peaceful tranquility of alphas 1 to 24 is no more. From the dawn of time until now, right, prisoners have been governed by a needs system.
Yes.
Every prisoner has a set of needs.
Yes, I
Here's
know.
his
I remember.
needs: sleep, food, clothing, comfort, privacy.
I invented this system.
No, I invented this system.
No, we sat down and I invented it. And then, as you always do, you came back later and told me you had invented it. I told you about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Well, you see, actually, Will Wright invented it in the
he
context of
did,
video
yeah,
games,
he
and
did,
he based
he
it on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's
Yeah.
a great system. It
Yes,
governs
it is.
it governs the prisoner's day-to-day behaviour. They try their best to get rid of their needs, to discharge their needs, given the permissions that they have at any one time. Works
Yep.
well, right?
Yep.
But players have got too good. Players are just too good at this game.
Right.
And I've seen prisons now where people have been playing for hours on end, and they've built huge prisons like this one, which
See, it's-
just run themselves.
But is this an expert thing, do you think? Because, one of the issues maybe of developing in the way we're developing is that are these people that you're watching typical players? Or are they the top 5% hardcore? Are you catering just for a small subset of the...
They're typical end game players. They're players that are experienced at the game and know how to beat the game. So
Right.
yes, it will take a little while to get to this stage. But everyone will get there who plays the game for long enough, and they'll reach
Right.
the point where they have a prison where nothing bad ever happens because
can't have that, can we?
all the needs of their prisoners are satisfied
Yeah, yeah.
by and large. And once that state is reached, no fights ever happen, no destruction ever happens, no escapes ever happen, and the game becomes very tedious and boring.
Yeah, perfectly balanced prison doesn't make for good gameplay, does
No,
it?
and let's face it, even let's say it wasn't even a prison full of hardcore nutters. Let's say it was even like, a hotel or a holiday camp or something. Even then, with everybody's needs perfectly taken care of, you wouldn't have complete peace and quiet.
No, you wouldn't.
But in a prison, you've got a subsection
Yeah,
of
that's
society.
right, that's right.
And that subsection of society are going to be unusual in their predicaments and in their
Yes,
in
almost
their,
by definition, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. They're going to be odd, unusual fellows.
Mm-hmm.
And in Alpha 25, I have attempted to model that.
Right. Wow.
So let's take a look, shall we?
Wow.
Every prisoner now has a new addition to their AI model called
Right.
their reputation.
A reputation.
And I'm going to find someone who has a reputation that we can look at. Here we go.
This is when you pretend to pick someone at random, isn't it? But secretly, I know that
This guy,
Fletcher.
deadly. Says it at
Oh.
the bottom of his thing. Also says it in the character list.
Oh, I see. Sorry, it's not Fletcher. It's there we go. I see
Mark
him. Yeah.
Colley. This prisoner
Mark
is a
Colley.
master in lethal combat moves and can sometimes kill with a single hit.
That's like me.
There you go. That's just
There
one.
are.
Let's have a
You
look.
based him on me.
Let's take a look for another one. How about fearless? What does that mean? This prisoner is not intimidated by the sight of armed guards and is less likely to surrender during a fight.
Oh dear, oh dear.
One of the reasons why people have got such stable prisons is they just deploy armed guards everywhere.
Right,
and
right,
every
and they
single prisoner
suppress.
just immediately becomes suppressed. Well,
Right.
not if they're fearless, they don't. Let's have a look at someone else. You might notice I'm going to the informant screen to find this out. Your informants are the source of this information.
Okay.
They tell you the reputation of your prisoners.
Okay.
Right, now, these guys that have got nothing, they don't have a reputation, they're just nobodies.
Okay. Okay.
You'll see that some of the guys have got question marks next to them.
Yeah,
It means
yeah.
they have a reputation, but your informants haven't revealed it yet.
Right, they've not met them.
Well, it's because I don't have any confidential informants right now. But if
Okay.
I had some confidential informants and I had 100% coverage, then I would have.
So how are you
everyone
getting
revealed.
any information then if you don't have any CI?
Because randomly, half of all reputations are known anyway.
Okay.
As
okay.
part of just the fact that it's a reputation.
That's fair enough. I guess you'd probably get like a information or intelligence sheet on a prisoner coming in, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
From the
exactly.
people that have had him before, previous sentences, those sorts of things.
So this guy's a little bit mad. This guy's got strong, volatile, and stoical. The prisoner hits harder with each punch during fights.
Wow.
Volatile, liable to kick off without warning and for no reason. Right? That makes him a right pain in the arse.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if his needs are all taken care of, he'll still get angry and smash things up every now and then. And stoical, locking him up in suppression, in solitary confinement, has no effect on him.
Do
But
you have any? These all seem to be sort of positive characteristics. Do you have the counterparts? Do you have weak? Punches you with less force each time.
Nothing quite like that, but there are some wild cards. I don't quite want to reveal everyone because some of them are very rare.
Right, right.
Here's an interesting one: ex-law enforcement. This
Oh,
prisoner was
dear.
once
Oh,
this prisoner was
dear.
once a police officer or some other law
dear.
enforcement profession. His life may be in danger.
Maybe in
You can
danger,
take
yeah.
that as a hint if you want.
Yeah.
What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to activate my my one confidential informant. While I'm doing that, I should point out I made some changes to the CI system, and now a confidential informant, because they were too powerful. Last month I had confidential informants with 100% information.
Right.
Now it tops out at 50% from any prisoner at the moment you hire them.
Okay.
But you can, once you put them back into the prison as an active confidential informant, that number will go up gradually.
Okay.
So you can effectually put them back in as sleeper agents.
Right.
But as their coverage increases, so does their risk.
Their suspicion.
All right. So I've turned on my confidential informant. And now we're getting more
Yep.
information. All right. Now we've got this guy available to us. Here's one of the rare ones. Right. This guy is a legendary prisoner. Right. He's a legend of the underworld. He's like the Charles Bronson of your prison.
Right.
This is
Right.
very rare. Right. A legend
Fucking hell,
that
look at that.
extremely strong, extremely tough, can withstand a lot more punishment in a fight, extremely volatile, stoical, extremely deadly, cop killer. This is an interesting one. This prisoner is guilty of murdering a police officer. Your prison guards may be unable to restrain themselves when subduing him.
So this is about the effect that the guards are going to have on him, isn't it?
Right.
This is interesting. Even though he is a cop killer, that means your guards are going to be super angry and super upset with him, and
Yeah.
are just going to fill him in.
Well, if he's fine, if nothing's going on in his life, then he won't be touched. But
Right.
fights against guards end when the prisoner taps out or falls unconscious. Right, that's the end of the fight. They just that's not the case if he's a
Right.
cop killer necessarily. Your guards might be very angry with him and might beat the shit out of him to the point where they actually kill him.
Right.
So he's actually a danger in other ways. Because
Right,
as you
yeah, yeah.
remember, 2 million deaths in your
That's
prison.
just game over, yeah.
It's game over. Fearless, or is the instigator? This prisoner sows seeds of discontent in all those nearby. When he causes trouble, nearby prisoners feel compelled to do the same.
What a nasty bugger.
So if he kicks off, you've
Yeah.
got this tough, strong
Yeah.
dude, really volatile, really deadly, and all the prisoners around him are going to follow suit. He's a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
maniac, right?
Yeah.
He is a nightmare, and he is not going to give one flying fuck that you have taken care of all of his needs today.
He needs to be in the max tech wing, doesn't he? He does.
Funny, you should say that. All right, let's have a look. So we've got 3 categories of prisoner, haven't we?
We have.
As you know from our regime, minimum, normal, and maximum. Well, now
Yeah.
we have a new one for just his type. Supermax.
Supermax.
Right, now
There we
Supermax
go.
is never assigned to new prisoners arriving at your prison. You have
Okay.
to assign it manually. But if
Okay.
you decide that you can't deal with this guy, you need him
Yeah.
segregated, even from maximum sec, you can make him Supermax. Oh, that colour's horrible. It's not meant to be that colour, it's meant to be black, I think. I don't know why it's come up like that. Now, what's the point in assigning him a Supermax? What does that actually do? Well, I can go to deployment and I can make a zone Supermax only, like this.
Okay.
And under the regime, here's our minimum, normal, and maximum. There's now a new set for Supermax. It's based off normal security, as everyone is, until you customize it.
Right.
So I might decide, well, Supermax, I just can't deal with Supermax.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
going to lock him in his jail cell all day long. Right.
He has to eat at some point, doesn't he?
Well, yes, he does. He does have to eat at some point, and you're going to have to figure that out, right? When you're
Right.
going to let him out. You might let him out at times when no one else is in the canteen.
Right. Right.
But Supermax prisoners, prisoners that have got a lot of really nasty reputations that are going to work against you, they require dealing with in a different way, you know? Just the fact that he was marked as extremely deadly means that something like he's going to kill with a lot of hits. You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so you're going to want armed guards around
Yeah,
him all the
lots
time.
of them.
You're not going to want to have him freely wandering around out of sight of armed guards.
Yeah.
It's just too much of a nightmare. But that is very rare, and he popped up. In fact, there's probably more than one of him. He popped up because I've got testing turned on,
Right.
just
right.
for the sake of this. So that's that. So what else?
Very cool. So that's really going to shake up the mid game a bit.
It really
I mean,
shakes up the mid game. So even if you take care of all your prisoners' needs now, that's not enough.
is it going to be too difficult in the early game though? If
No,
you're trying to build a prison and all of a sudden you've got these people just kicking off out of nowhere, are they going to upset things as
no,
you're?
because there's a percentage chance of all of these reputations, and it is based on the danger level of the prisoner. So when you start your prison, you know that you can decide, can't you, whether you want to receive maximum security prisoners, gen pop prisoners, or minimum security prisoners.
Yeah.
Right? And minimum security prisoners, by and large, have they have a lot less likely to have any of those really bad traits.
Right.
If someone comes in for tax evasion, they're not likely to have deadly. Do you know what I mean?
So you can sort of control the flow of these lunatics in until you're comfortable.
And it's
you
only
wanna deal with it.
you're only going to get the legendary prisoners only come in as maximum security. Right. So
okay.
you're not going to get the really bad ones until you start taking maxsec in. Introduces a bit of risks though, because you open up to maxsec, but you don't know what reputations you're going to get.
Yeah, sure.
You can never be sure. So in the early days of your jail, it means you have to be more careful. It means that you can't pull the old trick of just letting in maxsec straight away,
Right.
and then taking care of their needs in order to make loads of money.
Yeah.
You're just going to get a prison that falls into anarchy really quickly.
They're going to kick off. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's something else that was in that new informant screen, another upgrade. You might notice that 2 of our prisoners have got giant floating red crosshairs over their heads.
I did notice that. Yeah. You've turned it into Meteor game or something, haven't you?
Well, like DEFCON or something.
Asteroids.
Well, so what this is our confidential informant is telling us on the grapevine that these 2 guys days are numbered within your prison.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they've been targeted. Right.
Okay.
In other words, well, it tells us already why. This guy is already tagged as a snitch. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I told you last time that if your informants get blown, they become snitches.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. But some prisoners that arrive are snitches anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And although I just told you before that as long as you don't take maxsec, you're not in too much danger, there tends to be more snitches in the lower security categories.
Okay. I think that makes sense.
Less snitches in the max security category.
Fewer snitches.
Yeah. What was the other one? The other guy's that guy that I showed you earlier, ex-law enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course he's going to be a target.
They've figured out that he's ex-law enforcement and his days are numbered.
Jack Ryan, 7 years for torture.
Yeah. So what the hell do you do about this? Well, I just told you there's a new category for Supermax. That's no use. But what we can do is we can make him into protective custody. Right?
Protective customer, vulnerable prisoner.
A vulnerable prisoner, and his uniform turns yellow.
Okay.
A much needed category. In fact, I think we've needed this category for a little while, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's an important part of the puzzle, isn't it?
You have to separate out some of your prisoners sometimes. Again, you'll never get somebody who's already protective custody. It's a manually assigned category. Right? When you figure out that their life's in danger, you assign them to that. Okay?
Yep.
And the same things apply. I can go into deployment. I can make a protective custody only zone, like so.
The shower block.
There's cells in there as well. And in the regime, I can decide again. So this might make a little more sense now. Normal security down the middle, the new Supermax category on the right, and the new protective custody on the left.
Right.
And if I just block that out. Now, the thing is that these guys, this happens in real life. People that get assigned to protective custody really live a pretty shitty life.
Yeah, that's right.
Because what are you going to do? Are you going to build another entirely self-contained prison? Just for your 2 guys who are in protective custody.
I was thinking that the regimes for protective custody and Supermax are probably quite similar.
Yeah, they probably are. You don't need the armed guards and stuff for protective custody, typically.
That's right.
Although you might. I mean, there's no reason to think that protective custody means that they're not dangerous.
Yeah, they're weak or something. Yeah.
It just means that they've been targeted for death, and you might not want that to happen. So those guys, because I've told them that protective custody have to be in lockup, they're on their way to their cell. All right. So there we go.
Good.
So you can see there's now a whole series of new problems for you to deal with. Right? You've got vulnerable prisoners, you've got extremely dangerous prisoners, and you've got the general level of reputation that's going to cause prisoners to behave differently.
Nice.
And you've got new tools for dealing with it. I should explain to you that at a certain point this month, I had a moment when I decided to go super dark and for a moment thought to myself about what typically happens to people in protective custody when all law enforcement has broken down.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And we can simulate this by triggering a riot manually. Now, I've triggered a riot, right? Obviously, this doesn't typically happen. Riots don't just occur like that.
This is for demonstration purposes
case,
only.
Demonstration purposes only. You might notice, you may or may not notice, a large number. Let me see if I can find some. A large number of the most dangerous prisoners of all. Red suits, cop killers, stoical. Where do you think they're going?
They're not going to the VP wing, are they? The vulnerable prisoners?
They're going to the vulnerable prisoners room.
Oh, you
because
nasty
they
man.
know that there's a riot underway, right? Security is low. This is their chance. And they're going to have some comeuppance on the people who are in the vulnerable prisoners list.
Who they perceive to need some physical justice.
Exactly. Now, this doesn't... If you make someone a vulnerable prisoner, it doesn't automatically make him a target. It's based on who is actually a target. Right?
Yeah, okay.
But you're going to be encouraged to put all your vulnerable prisoners in one place.
Yeah.
So that one place is going to be a target. Right, and there you go. So they've killed one of them already. Oh, they've killed both of them. Well, that didn't take very long at all, did it? All right. Once they've done that, they'll fall back to their traditional riot behaviours of trying to storm the armory and trying to escape. The AI routine, just for interest, is called snitch cull.
Snitch cull.
Some prisoners do a function called armory raid. Other prisoners do mass escape attempt. Some prisoners do snitch cull, where they just target...
This is why developing video games is the best job in the world.
It's fucking brilliant, man.
You get to call functions Crystal A.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, well, and the player can figure out what priority they're going to go when they go into the prison to try and retake it.
Yeah.
Are you going to defend the vulnerable prisoners, or are you going to defend the armory, or are you going to stop people escaping? Who knows?
Yeah.
We've had 47 deaths in this prison. It's been a really bad riot. All right, that's enough on reputations, I think. Okay, let's move on to something else.
Right.
Now, continuing the theme of making the game harder to predict and harder to control, what this ultimately stems back to is that I watched somebody in Cambridge, a friend of mine called Alan. He's quite an experienced player of the game, and he played the game. He's quite good at the game, and he frequently leaves the game on overnight. He just leaves the game running, right? Right. And nothing bad happens ever. And I just thought, I'm just not having that.
That's not right, is it?
A game about building a prison, particularly if you've got loads of max security prisoners everywhere, you shouldn't be able to leave it on overnight.
Yeah,
no, so now we've looked at reputation as part of that. I'm going to run through a series of other smaller changes which are also related to the same basic idea. All right?
Yeah.
Now, firstly, you might remember that you can steal contraband from all around your prison, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Workshops and so on. I've added some new ones, and I've added some improvised weapons, like in the cleaning cupboard, for example. Prisoners can now improvise a club by snapping the mops in half and make a little homemade club. Similarly, in the workshop, there's the usual set of workshop tools.
Yeah.
They can now make a shank. It's an improvised metal weapon that's made in the workshop. But if a fight breaks out in the workshop, which I'll simulate by making this guy go into fight mode. If a fight breaks out in the workshop, anybody who is involved in that fight... I've lost him. Where's he gone?
He just sort of disappeared.
He's gone out of visibility in some ways. Anybody that's involved in that fight can steal any of those items straight away.
Right? So instant arm.
Instant arm. So you need to be thinking about this, right? If a fight...
Has he killed the dog?
He killed the dog. Oh no, it's just unconscious.
Okay.
So if you're going to let really dangerous prisoners, maybe with a certain reputation, into your workshop, it's another thing to worry about.
Yeah,
they no longer have to steal a knife. They can just pick one up.
That's great, because the fights in the workshop are going to become more deadly than fights in other parts of the prison.
Fights in the workshop are really bad news.
Yeah, which is exactly as it should be.
Yeah.
Right?
If you've got two of your prisoners who are sweeping the armory, right?
Yeah.
I don't think many
well.
players typically let their prisoners sweep the armory, right? But if you did, that would go bad very, very quickly. So you can see that was much worse than normal, because the prisoner instantly stole a shank from the room.
Shanked the dog.
Yeah, that wasn't very nice, was it?
No, I'm not happy about that, really.
Prisoners that have done this stuff have done something new now. This guy, murder, found weapons and serious injury, right? That's his recent misconduct.
Yeah.
He's automatically had the murder added to his list of convictions now. His sentence has automatically been extended.
Okay.
Now, I wrestled with this for a while. I thought, it doesn't work like that. Court cases, he has to be convicted.
Yeah.
Right? But, video games, the thing is that there's no fun to be had in having him convicted for a murder that you've just watched happen right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
But your most dangerous prisoners now, if they get involved in fights and murders and things, they're never going to leave your prison.
Yeah, right.
It's going to stack up this amount of time. He's just had 25 years added to his sentence.
And then he becomes more of a problem because he's going to be here. He's got no incentive to behave himself.
Yes, the time remaining on his sentence affects his behaviour.
Yeah.
Right, in various subtle ways. Similarly, if he was already maximum security, if he was minimum security, he would have just been upgraded to maximum security automatically for murder.
Right.
Any prisoner that commits murder automatically reassigned to max sec.
Seems to make sense.
Yeah. And the lesser crimes of assault and escape attempts, things like that, get you automatically upgraded one level.
Okay.
So if you're min sec, you're upgraded to medium sec, and if you're medium sec, you're upgraded to max.
Okay.
So there's now a little bit of a process within your prison which happens automatically.
Yep.
And it makes some sense because think back a long time ago, not every prisoner is correctly categorized.
That's right. And it's going to be interesting as well to see how it's sort of introducing overcrowding issues now, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you have a massive fight and all your prisoners get thrown into maximum security, and you haven't really built one yet, so
that's right.
You're not really ready for that. These are all things you're going to have to worry about. Right, what else? Tasers.
Oh, there's more.
Mate, this is a massive update.
Massive.
In terms of gameplay, this is a huge change to the game. Balance across the board. Right, tasers. Right, so these guards all had tasers.
Right.
Where have they all gone? Well, the problem with tasers were too powerful.
Okay.
Tasers were one-shot KO for any prisoner.
Right.
As soon as and what would happen is, as soon as a fight broke out, the nearby guards would just go zap, 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 and that was it.
And that'd be the end of it.
The fight was all over. Well, firstly, the reputation system plays into this. Prisoners that are tough, I think it's tough. Yeah, the tough guys are much less. Well, there's a chance they'll be able to withstand a taser hit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, prisoners that are extremely tough, they have a good chance of withstanding a taser hit. So now guards have to train before they can use a taser.
Okay.
They have to be certified. So this is the first staff training program. We've focused on prisoner training programs and prisoner reform programs, but under the programs list now, there's a new entry, guard taser certification.
Right.
It's led by the chief.
Right.
Let's start it up, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's put a few of them up. So it takes 1 hour. And
it's not a long course then.
No, it's not really a training course. It's more like formal certification.
Right.
It's like they have to pass an exam.
Right.
That's kind of how you should think of it. As such, it takes place in the classroom. Right? So you've got a little bit of a natural conflict going on there because your classroom may well be busy doing other things. So what is that? I'm going to say 6 a.m., 8 a.m. Let me just accelerate time to...
Are you going to train your guards or are you going to train your prisoners?
Yeah, and it's not quite as bad as that because your prisoners can only go to reform programs during work regime.
Right.
That's when they go to class.
Okay.
Right. So when it's a staff training program, it tries to put it outside of prisoners' time. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
It tries, but it's not always possible. If you want to have a mad crash course for all your staff in taser training, then you're going to have to put all of your classroom and education programs on hold for a while. And the other thing this solves is previously people didn't realize that a taser costs. I think it costs $1,000 or something per taser or something like that. So they would unlock taser training for their entire prison, and 100 guards would go and get their tasers, and it would cost them an absolute fortune, and it would put them into bankruptcy. Right? That's what used to happen because it all happened simultaneously.
Yeah.
Whereas now, because there's a maximum of like 10 guards training for tasers at any one time,
that budget is constrained.
It's constrained, and you can see how much money you're spending on tasers. And maybe you don't want everyone to have a taser. You know?
Yeah.
You don't have to. And your guards that have tasers will tend to favour being in the maximum security areas of your prison.
Right. They've got a natural inclination to go to where they're required.
Exactly. Because they're considered to be upgraded guards once they can use a taser.
Right.
So 60% of those guards passed, and 40% didn't. It's entirely down to attendance.
Right.
So they probably got caught up on the way to class. And this is what happens when they, once they've been certified.
They're all off. Give him a taser.
There you go.
There we are.
They've all tasered up. Right? And the staff window's been upgraded now to show you who's got armour and who's got tasers.
Right,
So
nice.
some of them have got tasers and some of them haven't.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So that's the taser nerf. That's what I call it. All right, we've got one last big thing.
Wow, it's a lot of big things to take in. It's a big video.
And it's still related to the same issue I was telling you about, there'd be nothing to do in the mid-game once you know what you're doing.
Yep.
A long time ago, we put escape tunnels into the game.
That's right, we did.
And I then nerfed escape tunnels into oblivion because it was silly. Right?
There were too many of them.
There were too many.
Always at it.
Yeah, you would do a shakedown of your prison, and you'd find like 1 in every 3 prisoners had a tunnel half dug, out the back of their jail cell. It was ridiculous, and it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't fun, and it didn't get across the idea that I wanted there to be, which is there's supposed to be a paranoia about escape tunnels.
Yeah, exactly.
A paranoia at all times, but it should ultimately be a very rare occurrence, and it should take a long time. So I've made a number of changes, and escape tunnels are back in play.
Right.
So I'm going to accelerate time to the next night. It still happens at night time.
Okay.
And it still requires digging tools, just like it did before. Let's turn on cheats and have a look. All right. So I know from my debug rendering that these 3 guys that live here have decided to dig an escape tunnel.
Right.
So the first change is that it's now a team effort.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's
It's
good
a
idea.
localized team effort. Neighboring prisoners will group together. It can be more than that. Right? It could be. The best one I ever saw was actually this corner here. Like these 3 guys and these 2 guys, all 5 of those prisoners that realized they're in a shared exit point.
Yeah.
Decide to dig a tunnel together. And so because they work as a team, they can be much more efficient about it. Mm-hmm. All 3 of them will try to steal escape tools during the day and bring them back to their cells. They're more intelligent about it. They're more intelligent about avoiding metal detectors and so on. And they will share tools. So you need to have a digging tool to dig through the outer wall of this prison. I should mention that I've got accelerated digging turned on at the moment, of course.
Right, okay.
Just for demonstration purposes. But I don't know why he's not doing it, but he's not sharing that tool. Why aren't you sharing that tool? Once they've dug through the outer wall, they don't actually need a digging tool to dig through the mud underneath the ground, right? They can dig with their hands if they need to. So these 3 guys can potentially share the same digging tool if they only have
do
one.
all 3 of them have to tunnel out of their cell walls, though?
All 3 have to tunnel out of their cell walls.
Okay.
But once they've tunneled out their cell wall, these guys will immediately join up. In fact, I can show you with the dig map. The dig map tells you what direction to dig in.
Yeah.
So this guy would dig outwards and then straight up.
Yeah.
This guy would dig outwards and then straight up. And because they're teamed together, once they're all in the tunnel, it goes much faster. Right?
Yeah, okay.
And so that makes it a lot more difficult to cope with. If I just they're also intelligent. Let's say you do a shakedown of your whole prison.
Yeah.
Right? Search your whole prison. Right? What happens?
They know. They hear the alarm.
They hear the commotion.
Brilliant.
Right? They know there's a shakedown. In fact, all the prisoners are going to be going, shakedown. Right?
Shakedown.
The guards are searching the cells, right? But he's heading back.
Right.
He's nearly back already.
There's a little cheeky counter there. 6 minutes, 5 minutes. Oh, God, here he comes.
Exactly.
Oh, he's gone in the other cell.
And he's made it back. Right?
That was close, man. I thought that guard was going to go up and bust him.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the thing is, so if the guard went in that cell now, they wouldn't find anything amiss, right?
Yeah.
Because the prisoner's right there. Right? He knows the shakedown happened. Searching. Now, here's...
But if the guard went in there, he wouldn't find the tunnel entrance.
If the guard went in there and searched this toilet, he has a chance to find the escape tunnel.
And he would search the toilet, would he not, as part of a shakedown?
Yes, I cancelled it, but he would.
Yeah, okay.
He has a chance to discover the escape tunnel, but not a definite. Because the way this works is they're effectively pulling the toilet out and leaving their room exposed. So if a guard walked in while they're tunneling, it would be obvious.
Right.
But once they're done at night, they put the toilet back up against the hole they've been digging. Right? Have you ever seen Prison Break? Right?
Yeah,
exactly
totally.
like that. Right.
Yeah.
There's a chance. There's a chance they'll discover the escape tunnel, but not enough to guarantee that a shakedown will find all escape tunnels.
Right.
So what can you do? Well, just like before, dogs are the answer.
Yeah.
Right? Let's bring in some dogs and bring them over here. Now, what happens now is we get a more definitive answer from our dogs. Right? Let's say you have a dog patrol. I've sent them out manually now, just to give demonstration. Each time they walk over the escape tunnel where we happen to know it is, some of them detect it.
And that's that flashing trowel icon.
They go like, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
right? And they leave behind a little marker, right? You get a flashing trowel to tell you it's happened,
Yeah.
right? And they leave a little marker
A
behind.
little golf marker.
Now we happen to know exactly where the escape tunnel is. It's fairly obvious to us,
Yeah.
right? So if I just walk them up and down this line, then it'll reveal the whole thing eventually. Now they do have a slight false positive chance, but I've really turned that down now. You get a lot less. So if you see
Yeah.
this, right, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know there's an escape tunnel here, right? There
You
must
don't
be.
think that's a little bit too obvious?
Yeah, it is, but it's only because I know where I'm searching. Right? It's only because I know where the tunnel is. You wouldn't normally have anything like this density of guard dog. Look at the size of this prison.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your patrols are going to be all the way around, all the way around here. And every time a dog walks past, he'll leave a little flag,
Right.
and you'll be notified. But it's up to you to investigate.
Yeah.
Right?
Brilliant.
You've got to investigate. Right? So how do you confirm that there is actually a tunnel here? Right? Well, the one definitive thing that you can do is dismantle the toilets in all these cells.
Right.
Right? I'm just going to
Right.
click to have them actually physically dismantled. Also works if they get repaired. Let's bring some.
Does that put the cells out of action?
Once the tunnel is discovered, yes, absolutely. So let's bring in our
But what
workmen.
about dismantling the toilet? If there's no toilet in there.
Well, you'll have to rebuild it. All right, so they're dismantling the toilets, and there we go. So, okay, you didn't get anywhere. There we go.
There we go.
So dismantling the toilet in that room revealed the tunnel. So now there's a little bit more of a game involved.
That's a nice effect as well.
Yeah, there's a bit more of a game involved because now you get warning from the dogs. You have to investigate to find where it's likely to be because you don't want to dismantle all the toilets in a cell block. So there you go.
Yeah.
There is Alpha 25.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
The game has changed.
Massive.
Right?
Massive.
It's going to be It's going to be different from now on. Definitely.
So, a little bit of heads up to everybody. The Alpha 26, which is next month, will not be a normal alpha. We're going to do our Bug Bash 2. Hopefully, a load of you will remember about Bug Bash 1.
Yeah.
We've got a big bug database. Johnny's made some videos about how you can contribute to the database. The bug bashes are a lot more interactive. We put out a lot of builds during the month, so you can download them and play them and help us verify the bugs have been fixed. What's the current count, mate, on the bugs? 3,000?
3,000 or so active.
So there's
bugs.
still a lot of bugs that we're working through. So what we're doing is we're taking a month off new features to try and really polish everything. So that's something to look forward to and get involved with if you're so inclined. If you're not already involved with Prison Architect, please head over to prison-architect.com and join in. If you don't want to buy it from us, you can buy it from Steam and the new Steam store delivery discoverability thing. Hopefully Prison Architect will pop up in your list or something. But get involved, join in. We've still got a good way to go on this one.